It'll be a while. Now we got what's going on? I like your Tell Danielle it's 6. She was asking, tell Danielle it's 6. No, it's 7. Okay, no problem.
Nobody, you gotta put our
My name is
Too busy.
Not so much.
Oh. What's the name?
Yeah.
Are you going to question that, James? No, are you going to?
Because I don't have to deal with it on mine.
That's your job, Jim.
I didn't pick one up, I just.
They're still working.
Good evening, everyone. We're about to begin the Morrisville Borough Council meeting of October 15th, 2018. We'll begin with a moment of silence and our Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Can I have a roll call, please, Virginia?
Present.
Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here.
Okay, thank you. First on our presentations tonight, do we have our junior council person here that's going to be sworn in? Would you like to come up here? This is Garrett Foy. He's a student from Conwell Egan, and our mayor is going to swear him in as our junior council person for 2018-2019 school year.
Can the mayor get a microphone? You want the mic?
Wilson. Just repeat after me. I, Garrett Foy,
I, Garrett Foy,
do solemnly pledge
do solemnly pledge
that I will accept
that I will accept
the position of
the position of
Morrisville Borough Junior Councilperson.
Morrisville Borough Junior Councilperson.
I will promise to attend
I will promise to attend
monthly council meetings
monthly council meetings
and observe Borough Council meeting rules.
and observe Borough Council meeting rules.
You know, you're doing better than me when I got I understand that I cannot vote
I understand that I cannot vote
on any issue
on any issue
and that I cannot attend
and that I cannot attend
executive sessions.
executive sessions.
Congratulations.
Mayor, would you like to have pictures with him done by the flag after he's done signing?
Excellent.
His parents like to go over there with him?
Dad, would you like us to take a picture for you for your phone?
Okay, congratulations, Garrett. Garrett, if you'll please take your seat right here. Garrett, your seat's going to be right here when you come up. There's a place seated right there for you. get a little place of honor right here with the rest of our staff. Thank you. Okay. Next, we are going to have our Rotary Club 90th anniversary. So this is for, let me bring this on. Yeah, actually what I'm going to do is, let me pull my paper. All right. I'm a little disoriented here after that exec session. Tonight, the Morrisville Borough is honoring the men and women of the Morrisville Yardley Area Rotary Club for its 90 years of service to our community. So I will ask all those members, please, also to come stand up here towards the front of the dais where the mayor will come and he's going to read your proclamation for you. You want to come stand up here as a group so you can face everyone?
Over here, Hal.
Right by the flag over here with the mayor?
By the flag.
Yep.
The other way.
There you go.
All right, I do have a proclamation that I'm honored to read, congratulating the Morrisville Yardley Area Rotary Club on their 90th anniversary and recognizing their many positive contributions to Morrisville Borough community and beyond. I'm sure this is old news to you, but maybe this will be exciting for others. Whereas the Morrisville Yardley Rotary Club was chartered in 1928 and has a long history of serving the community and the world, partnering with other service organizations such as the Salvation Army, Family Backpack Center in Morrisville, to help those who are in need. Whereas the Morrisville Yardley Area Rotary Club has a strong partnership with the Morrisville School District, developing a community garden and learning center at the Grandview Elementary School, providing reading books and dictionaries to libraries in Morrisville and Pennsbury schools. Whereas each year, the Morrisville Yardley Area Rotary Club provides an opportunity for 2 local high school students to participate in a youth leadership development program run by the Rotary District 7430, and also awards a well-deserving senior in the Morrisville High School with the club's annual scholarship for academic excellence and outstanding community service. Whereas many Rotarians volunteer regularly at the Trenton Area Soup Kitchen, and they serve as canal tenders for the Friends of the Delaware Canal Cleanup and Preservation, as well as conduct fundraisers and sponsor community events such as the annual Morrisville Community Easter Egg Hunt in Williamson Park, the Country Breakfast, and the Yardley Car Festival and the National Night Out in Morrisville. Whereas globally, the Morrisville Yardley Area Rotary Club organizations such as Roboplast, Shelter Box, and Polio Plus, and recently closed out its water filtration program, which serves the needy in Lima, Peru. Now, therefore, be it resolved that on this 15th day of October 2018, that the Borough of Morrisville hereby recognizes that the Morrisville Yardley Area Rotary Club on their 90th anniversary and invites all residents to congratulate them on this momentous milestone and support the many wonderful programs, events, scholarships offered thanks to the Morrisville Yardley Area Rotary Club. So congratulations.
And I'd like to say a few words. As a club member myself, I'm humbled that you guys allow me to hang out with you. There's so much history that you guys have brought to this town. There's so many things that we could list that we just can't go on forever. But I'm going to ask everybody to hang tight for a second. We do have something we want to present to you from Borough Council. We're extremely grateful for the service that the club provides to the community. We'd also like to take a group picture with council. So if we could do that now, Danielle.
Are you going to do 4D?
Sorry.
Can handle it, sure.
First, get the mayor and the Rotarians first, and then we'll bring everyone else down. Okay, now if the rest of the council would like to come down. You can get a group shot.
Labor Council's actually sort of, Labor Council's actually sort of doing the draft of the amendments, correct?
Already did.
Okay.
It's on for approval tonight.
Okay.
It's just a matter of basically opening and closing the public hearing if there's any public comment. We'll vote on it on 9E. Unless they change their mind.
It's already been published.
Yeah.
At this time, I want to ask if Tom Mack would please approach the podium. I've asked Tom to, Tom is our, I'm going to phrase this the best way I can, our longest standing member, active member. And we've asked him to just say a few words about Rotary on our behalf.
Yes, I really, we're honored tonight to be called upon to come. We have a long legacy of service here in the borough, going back to the pavilions in Williamson Park, the basketball and tennis courts, which don't so much exist anymore, to the statue of Robert Morris. We have visibility when we're out raising money, and that your support in that enables us to perform community projects, not just here, but internationally. But without your support and membership, we're a gray bunch here, as you can see. And we need younger people, we need new people, and we're a community service organization. And we have been here for 90 years, and I hope we're here for another 90 years. So with your continued support and volunteerism from those of you that are here, we can continue to do our good work here. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'd just like to add one thing to that. Thank you, Tom. I'd like to add one thing to that. This charter used to be the Morrisville Rotary Club. It expanded many years ago to be the Morrisville Yardley Rotary Club. As it stands right now, there are two residents that are two Morrisville Borough residents that are active members in the club. I really want to say that as much as this club does in town, I'd really love to see more residents get involved. It would be a huge boost to this club. Thank you.
Thank you very much, you guys, for your service. Thank you for coming out. Okay. Thanks. Can we stay? Okay. Next under 4C is the proposed preliminary budget. We discussed this at the previous week agenda meeting, so it's actually an action item under 9F on the agenda, so we won't talk about it this time. It can be discussed with council at that time when it gets to the action items. We're going to move on to 4D, which is a public hearing on amendments to the responsible contract ordinance, and I'm going to have our attorney at this point handle that.
All right.
Michael Levin. I'm here for Randy Flager tonight.
Put your mic on, Mike.
That would probably help. We wanted to afford the citizens an opportunity to offer some public comment. Council has published, and they are considering amendments to the borough's responsible contractor ordinance, which basically these are in effect in many municipalities. They are very, very good for labor. The reason that I believe council has considered amending the current ordinance is because with a number of smaller projects, these things have been bid out, and there is a apprenticeship program requirement for the responsible contractors under the ordinance. So essentially, some of the smaller contractors simply just don't have those programs established, even though they may otherwise be responsible in the broad sense. The problem is the economy is doing well and construction trades have picked up, and a number of smaller projects that the boroughs bid out, we've been having trouble finding responsive bidders that have these apprenticeship programs in place. So what we've proposed, and actually the borough's labor council has really been primarily involved in this, so I sort of am giving a secondhand version of it. But the proposed ordinance has been published, and we wanted to give everybody, because I'm sure people have questions, comments, concerns, we wanted to give everybody a chance to speak. Looks like there's a good number of you out here tonight, so we're trying to ask everybody to keep their comments brief, concise, and limit themselves to around 3 minutes a person.
Okay.
And with that, we can open up public comment.
Okay. I'll just take it from the list.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Christopher Coteau, want to come to the microphone, state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, Christopher Coteau, 473 Hamilton Boulevard. Maybe, I don't want to talk out of turn. I was here to talk about the budget.
Yeah, you can.
I can do that?
Yeah, sure. We're just giving a preempt as to the reasoning for the responsible contract.
The solicitor
ordinance.
just spoke about, I think you should approve that, lower the threshold or something like that. Something you guys are discussing. I agree with it. First of all, thank you all for your hard work. It's not an easy job. I like, for the most part, what you all have been doing. And I think the residents are happy as well. However, it's budget time, and that's not an easy time. And for some of you, it's your first, at least with this council. I want to commend President Smith for getting this started on time. It's the first time in 5 years since I've been following it, so that's a great thing. Budget is never easy, as I said. You were all given budget packets a month and a half ago. There's an option A, there's also an option B. We'll talk about option B first. Basically, option B incorporates all of the positions not being funded in A, and also bringing the Morrisville Police Department from 10 full-time officers to 5 full-time officers. This, in my opinion, is not an option. It's going to cause a public safety issue. It's also going to create a police safety issue. It will also destroy the Morrisville Police Department, and we will have wasted millions of tax dollars that we have put into it for the last 4 or 5 years. Option A isn't the best option either. I talked to Mr. Mitchell. Thank you for answering my calls. But it's a better option right now. You know, you got to do something. There's only so much revenue you're going to have. I notice across the board, there's a 3% mandatory cost of living for every borough employee. That's 3% more this year that you got to come up with that you don't have from last year. I get that. You got to find a resource or find an outside source for funding. The police department is requesting to go from 1.9 million, I believe, to 2.2. I really would like the chief to address the public and council to explain why the increase. I'm hearing it's 15% for cost, health care. I know it's 3% for all the borough employees. What that, those numbers, I don't know. I don't have anything to do with that. But I would ask you to fund the Morrisville Police Department as you have in the past. They do good work. Like I said, you need an alternative revenue source. In April of this year, you were briefed on the EIT and earned income tax. 0.5% would yield you approximately $900,000. 1% would be $1.8 million. This would address your budget problem and help you pay down the $1.2 million deficit that we've been stuck with over the last 5 years. It's not your fault, but we got to address that deficit. That's something you could go back to the polls and say, look, I put my foot down. Yeah, you're going to get taxed, but you know what? Some people already have an EIT. I believe someone on council already has an EIT. Why not bring that money back here to the residents? And if you got to raise taxes, that's okay with me too. That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I'm just going to interject before we forgot to let everyone know we did have an executive meeting before our meeting tonight for the police labor issues. So just to let you all know, we should have mentioned that in the very beginning so everyone realizes that's why we were in there. And then I'll just continue with the public comment. Sharon Palmer. State your name and address for the record, please.
Sharon Palmer, 607 Dorset Drive. I'm here about the police issue. I just want to let you know that in the late 60s, my parents moved to Morrisville so we could have a safer town to live in and a safer neighborhood. And I've had encounters with the police department. I also know that under Chief McClay, our police force has never been better. And I just wanted you to take that in consideration when you're doing the budget. And we need a strong police force in Morrisville. Being right across the bridge from Trenton, we just need our police force to be a good one. I also have some concerns about some of the streets in town. The intersection where Benton Lane is and it meets Nolan Avenue, there's a lot of potholes there. And it looks like a lot of water. And I was just wondering if somebody can look into that. And also the 600 block of Palmer Avenue, right as you make the right out to Palmer Avenue, there's a couple of divots right there in the 600 block. A lot of water is there also. So if you guys can look into that. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John Pasteur. I always wonder if I'm saying your name right, John. I'm sorry. Please state your name and address for the record.
John Pasteur, 25 Dieter Avenue. My street is sinking again for the third time.
Okay.
I'd like to address this responsible contractor ordinance. I think we're trying to get these rides up or this playground up, and I'm all for that. But I think you talked last week, that responsible contractor ordinance should be in for something over $200,000. I've been through apprenticeship programs numerous times, JSAs, PSMs, background checks, drug tests. I started from the ground up. I work with all the building trades. And they all start out at the ground level and work their way up. It's quality, it's public safety, it's longevity, being a responsible contractor. If we take that out, we're leaving it up to the board to decide who's a responsible contractor. I don't think that's a good move for something that's going to be over $200,000. On that budget, I also am against the Part B, where you're going to get rid of half of the full-time officers, the people that know the streets, that know the towns, that know where to chase a fugitive and where not to chase a fugitive. I watched this committee for months argue with the chief on hiring part-time police officers. I think that's a bad move for public safety. Property value is going to go down. It's going to be a bad move. And also, the 3 guys that retired from the public works, they want to eliminate those positions. I've known all three of those guys. There's over 100 years of service that those guys put into this town. Money that has stayed in this town. Families that were raised in this town, they went to our schools, and you just want to eliminate it. I think that's a bad move, because we paid this financial guy to do a study of the MMA. Councilman Bowers said, why don't we ask the MMA for more money? How can we ask them for more money if we're going to eliminate almost half of our workforce? We got this Patriots Park coming up. We got the Williamson Park. We just ended up with this municipal building. There's more and more work. There's snowstorms. There's grass to cut. We don't have the part-time, the summer help anymore. And now you're going to consolidate to save a couple dollars, and the appearance of our town and the safety during a snowstorm is going to be detrimental. Mm-hmm. I have another question.
If you could, I don't know how much you have to go, John. That's your 3-minute, but I mean, if you could.
Okay, well, other people have gone more than 3 minutes, and I understand there's a lot of people here tonight.
If you could just, okay.
Keystone Municipal Services, I know we're way over budget. That was a very poor decision. Another local job that we gave away. We got $665 and $957.50 for third parties. The way I understood it, when these people came and made the presentation, they were going to do it all, and now they're farming out third-party stuff, and we're paying for it, and we're already way over budget on that.
This is your time to comment, and council can comment when you're all done. This is the comment period for everybody.
Okay. Trying to think of what else we got here. I've just been so flabbergasted that just to see the way that this is going. We're putting money in front of safety, for a little bit of tax money or whatever we got to do to get by. And I know it's hard. That's why I don't run for office. I don't have what it takes. I'm a diesel mechanic. I'm a crane operator, and I've been through all the programs. And Mr. Yeager, the AFSCME does have an apprenticeship program. It's a training program. I called them. I called all of the building trades.
Mr. Yeager, hold your comments, please. It's public comment time.
That is recognized by the state of Pennsylvania. That's all I have. Any responses?
This is comment time. If council wishes, when public comments close and they want to comment on something that was said, they'll have the opportunity to do that. This is the comment time for the public, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Yeager, you can have that time when public comment closes if you wish to. Hal Wilcox?
This time to give it to John, didn't we?
No. State your name and address for the record, please.
Yes. Hal Wilcox, 52 Harrison Avenue. Well, I came up here because I've been hearing the rumors about cutting the police department. I don't come to these meetings a lot, but I just wanted to see what was being done. There's a opioid epidemic in America, and most places are building their police force because of this problem. Because when you have drugs, you have crimes, you have, robbing. And if you cut the police department, when you need a cop, they're not going to be there. When your car is stolen or your house is broken into, who's going to respond? We need the police force strong. Most municipalities today are building their police force up because of the epidemic. That's all I have.
Thank you. Georgia St-Mars? You'll state your name and address for the record, please.
Thank you. Georgia St-Mars, 227 West Franklin Street. I just wanted to talk briefly about the RCO. The things I'm going to read aren't written by me. They're written by George J. Hayden. He wrote this for the ABC. RCOs generally only permit contractors that participate in a federal or state-approved apprenticeship training program to bid on public work in a particular jurisdiction. The ordinance are crafted and proposed by local unions in an effort to exclude most open shop contractors from being eligible to work on public public construction projects, and that's exactly what has happened. RCOs were originally drafted by union attorneys in Washington, D.C., and have been promoted under the guise of protecting the public entities from contractors who have not trained their employees adequately. There's been no evidence whatsoever that I could find that showed that the RCO with the Class A apprenticeship program makes anything any safer. That is not true. I believe also that an attorney has been calling some of the people for the RCO, for the unions have been calling some of our council people, offering some, I don't know, incentives. However, parts of the RCO are very adequate. The parts that list what has to happen with contracts over $25,000, which I believe the council wants to raise up to $200,000. I think that's appropriate. The real problem is the only form of training recognized in the ordinance is the state or federally approved apprenticeship program. Many, many people get their training in other ways that are valid. It is important to note that in Pennsylvania, 80% of construction employees work for open shop contractors. That's non-union contractors, compared to only 20% who have elected union representation. Thus, RCOs eliminate the opportunity for most construction employees to work on public construction projects. I really and truly would like the council to consider raising up the limit to $200,000 for the RCO to take effect, up from the $25,000, and eliminate the Class A training programs that are now required. As far as, just in a nutshell, just to remember, the council represents all the residents of Morrisville, not just the public employees, not just the police department, not just union workers. There's a whole lot of us who aren't any of those, and we would like to have representation. We don't have 100 years altogether, but we still would like to be represented by this council. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Ed Lashan. You might have to pronounce your name. It's the way you wrote that. Say your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Ed Tashton, and I live at 227 West Franklin. And I'm here to talk about the RCO. I'm going to make it quick. I have a few short comments to make. First of all, I don't know how anybody looks at it and doesn't see it's totally discriminatory. How you can eliminate a group of people who have made an honest living their whole lives and are very capable people from bidding on contracts because they don't have an apprentice. Well, you know, it's really not the responsibility of the taxpayers of Morrisville to pay for somebody's apprentice, to teach them how to do the work. That's up to the business. They want to do it, let them do it. That's great, wonderful. It's not our responsibility to benefit the company and help them by paying additional money. Not fair. There's just no way I can see that as not being discriminatory. I'm not even sure it's legal, to be honest with you, to force that on taxpayers. It may be, it may not be. I'm not an attorney, but I think that it could be questioned and probably is many times or will be many times. People have a right to work. The only requirements to bid should be very simple. A legal business, a qualified business, somebody who knows what they're doing, and one currently capable of doing it, having the ability by having the number of workmen needed or whatever the situation is. And that's very easily verifiable by looking at other jobs the person has done and so forth. Those should be the only requirements. Apprenticeship should have anything to do with it. Again, not our responsibility to train other people for companies. And running the cost up, you know, if you have a private business, you have a right to hire anybody you want. And if you want to take a $1,000 job and make it $20,000, that's up to you. It's your money, you spend it the way you want. But when you're talking about public money, you really need to look at the lowest possible bid from a qualified person. Simple as that. Shouldn't be any other requirements. If the person is qualified, lowest bids, they should get the job. Unless there's something that we can't see that maybe there's something wrong with the person, but if they're qualified and the lowest bid, they should get the job. Simple as that. It's only fair to the taxpayers of Morrisville. Thank you for your time and thank you for your efforts.
Thank you.
I wish you'd bring enough for the rest of us.
Next is John Manning. Thank you, sir. Holly Harmon, please state your name and address for the record, please.
Holly Harmon, Hillside Avenue. I'm also encouraging you to amend the RCO. There's plenty of people that have never been in a union, never will be in a union, and yet we are still highly qualified. It has been a kick in the pants to a lot of the local mom and pop shops that can't bid in the very town that they live in to do the work around here. Other thing, just a quick question on the bill list. It's page 3, it's item 2091, Rudolph and Clark. We still doing civil service because we haven't had a meeting in months, and yet there's a bill there for civil service for $150. So at some point, I wonder what that's for. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Jill Anderson. State your name and address for the record, please.
Jill Anderson, 350 Hillside Avenue. So on Saturday, September 15th, another historical moment took place at Summer Seat here in Morrisville. Not sure it will go down in history like some of the other events there, but TEDx Morrisville will surely be talked about for years to come because Brett and I are planning on doing another event again. So if you're aware of any speakers, send them our way, please. I would like to say thank you. 80% of the board of TEDx Morrisville was from Morrisville, so way to represent. We had local businesses as well, La Villa, Benz, as well as All Star Muffler, that helped to sponsor the event. So we're thankful for them as well. If you missed the event, all 5 speeches are on YouTube. All you have to do is look up TEDx Morrisville, no space, and all 5 of the folks that spoke will be viewable. There's already been over 3,000 views on YouTube, so we're proud of that. And by the way, our very own resident, Mr. Joe Doyle, I should say John Adams, spoke about the history of Morrisville specific to Summer Seat and all the events that occurred there, which was the seat of so many of our founding fathers. So our founding fathers were wise beyond their years, especially about taxes. Taxes have been a long and storied history in the United States. It was taxes and the British Empire's methods of enforcing these taxes and regaining control of the colonies that ultimately gave birth to a new nation. So you all have a very tough job, no doubt about that, and I applaud all the time and effort that you put into your job. Balancing the budget as an elected official must be probably just as hard as childbirth at times. But just like our founding fathers, you're not alone. You have a whole army of people, spirited army of people behind you. So I hope you would consider asking the people, we the people, our thoughts and ideas on reducing expenses and costs that won't impact the safety of our residents and raise taxes, as well as revenue generating ideas. We have a great group of people that live here in Morrisville. Most of us love it here. And so I would recommend, if you can, put focus groups together so that ideas can be shared. We have diverse and gifted, creative, again, spirited people that live here. And because we know in history where there's constraints, brilliancy and innovative ideas emerge. So, I love the quote by Calvin Coolidge that says, collecting more taxes than is absolutely necessary is legalized robbery. And Arnold Schwarzenegger as well said, government's first duty, the very first duty, and the highest obligation is public safety. So thank you again for all of your efforts, and we're here if you need us.
Thank you. So, Brett Anderson, please state your name and address for the record, please.
Absolutely. Brett Anderson, 350 Hillside Avenue. Not very familiar with a microphone. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. It's great to see everybody. Thank you up there. Thank you all over council, Mr. Mayor. Congratulations to our new junior council person. Congratulations to the Rotary Club who had to exit, but we're just very proud to have him here for 90 years. I want to mirror a couple of things my wife said. We are very proud of how Morrisville TEDx went. Obviously we're going to have it next year. One of my passions with having this at Summer Seat was I wanted to highlight the history. And in the meantime, we managed to educate, maybe a couple dozen people, but they were passionate. One of those people owns his own production company, and he came to me and he said, how can we make this into a documentary? This story needs to be told. And I said, well, I'm told you got to get it by the board, but that's not so easy. And we did that. So I'm proud to announce that a documentary on Summer Seat will happen, and it'll be a nonprofit. And in the end, the footage will be gifted to them for a promotional tool or whatever they want to do with it. So the goal of having it at Summer Seat to promote that building was successful, and the event itself was successful. So like she said, if you weren't there, you want to show us a little support, we got about 100 extra T-shirts. All you got to do is send a message, see us in public, and we'll be glad to give you one. So thank you again to everybody involved in that. Now, I'm also here, as a lot of people, who's here besides me to talk about option B? Right, we got a lot of people here, and that's okay. It's a passionate issue, and we're glad to see that. To me, it's very simple, and this is my personal opinion, and this is how it affects me. But I think some other people agree with something. And I don't want to repeat everything everybody's saying, but I feel like it's very simple. Option B is not an option. We cannot talk about getting rid of so much of our police force. I think we all remember what happened when our police force wasn't doing well a few years back. I've talked to 5 police officers this week, and I can tell you, putting it mildly, morale is down. Not feeling very appreciated right now. And just in the last year, this is what is alarming to me. I've seen the chief's report taken away, the part-timers limited, the budget questioned, the new contract for the officers questioned, and now this, and this is just something that, like I said, it's just not an option. I don't see how this could happen. I've personally called the police over a half a dozen times. Now, I live on a very highly traveled area right near the bridges, so that's not a complaint. I love my property. I'm blessed to be there. But I've called the officers over a half a dozen times, including just 3 hours ago. Some of these are extremely serious. One of them was a DUI with an infant in the car. I had somebody attempt to break into my house while I was standing there, and so was my mother. I had somebody break in one of my other houses, a couple of domestic disputes, and today's situation was pretty serious also. So, I just can't imagine that, we would even float this out here. I see how it makes option A look great, and I agree with what Chris said earlier, that it's better than this, but I think it could use a little more tweaking. And again, that's my opinion. I know you guys are all up there doing the hard work, and I do appreciate it. I really do. I think when I look through both option A and option B, and I look through the budget, which anybody can write to know, I think I would challenge our finance director to find places to make smaller cuts, and they will add up. So that's my takeaway for tonight. I just I'm here to speak out against option B. I think it makes option A say, oh, that looks great, let's take it, and then we start talking about the EIT tax again. I know we got a lot of work to go, and these are just preliminaries, so I just wanted to get up here and share some of my personal stories and how I think it would be devastating to this town if we were to cut the police officers. So thank you for your time, everybody.
Thank you. Next is Fred Hogg. Am I saying that right? State your name and address for the record, please.
Fred Hogg, 260 Harper Avenue. I own 50 Union Street, and I got a letter in the mail on Saturday that said my property is derelict. And then I found out today when I came over and asked for when a council meeting was being, and I got the agenda that it's being voted on tonight whether to take my house or not. And I wasn't notified of any of this stuff. Let's see, I have just some questions. Why wasn't I notified of the resolution from the Morrisville Planning Commission identifying my property? Why didn't anyone from Morrisville Planning Commission contact me about the property prior to agreeing to the resolution? Why wasn't I notified the council will be voting on my property tonight? Why didn't anyone from council contact me about my property prior to it being voted on tonight? I wasn't told it was being voted on. Did anyone bother to contact me and ask why the property is still sitting the way it is? Because I was hit with a Traco bucket at work 4 years ago and broke my back in 3 places, which makes it really hard for me to do any work. And if I do any work, I could lose my benefits and my workers' comp. So I can't do things like that. What else did I want to say? Any property vacant. I pay all my taxes, and it says here that even though I pay my taxes and they're not delinquent, the property has not been rehabilitated within 1 year of receipt of a notice to rehabilitate from the Property Code Enforcement Agency. I've never received any notices to rehabilitate anything from anyone. All right. And that's all I got to say.
Thank you. Christina Morganti, state your name and address for the record, please.
Christina Morganti, 726 Crown Street. Good evening. Thank you guys. Really appreciate all of your time and effort, and most importantly, your willingness to just hear our concerns. Obviously, we're all talking about these options that have been proposed for the budget, and it's daunting time for you guys. We're not trying to make this process more difficult. I'm here because I am just really unclear if we are operating under a deficit or not. We keep talking about all of these cuts. I haven't seen it laid out, so pardon my ignorance, but nowhere have I seen an actual deficit that we are trying to either pay back or avoid in the future. So if that could be made more clear, I think we all would have a better understanding of what these options represent. I am certainly not in favor of cutting the police budget in any way, but really need to understand what that deficit is and what we're hoping to achieve in this upcoming year. So for that reason, I ask that we postpone the vote on these options until we have all of that information presented to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Phil Frigerio, you state your name and address for the record, please.
So my name is Phil Frigerio. I live at 719 Crown Street. Let me start by, first of all, thanking you for your collective support over the 705 Crown Street Banyan issue some months ago. And certainly I look forward to getting some more support as it transitioned to maybe to something else. I would like to start, first of all, I think I'm going to be a dull person standing up here in front of you because I heard a lot of passionate people. But let me start by saying to you that I believe in you guys. I believe in this council, that you have the best intentions for the borough. I know crafting a budget is often a pick and shovel job in a soup of competing priorities and interests. 20 years ago, I was in front of another council voicing support for our police department against claims of aggressive policing. Today, I find myself wanting to support our police, but I'm unclear and uncertain why the borough has on its agenda a proposal to reduce our police department as a budgetary necessity and priority. I think we're getting ahead of ourselves. I know I'm speaking to the choir, and I know it's been said, but Borough Hall sits a mile or 8 minutes from the New Jersey State House. Trenton has a dubious distinction, according to the Princeton patch, of along with Newark as the most, and by the way, it is 7th out of 100 most violent crimes in New Jersey. I am sure that we can all agree that Morrisville is vulnerable. While I appreciate things like street lights, streets, libraries, water, sewage, without security, there's no town, there is no borough. Security is existential to me and my family, and I'm sure you share the same concerns for your family as well. I would suggest that council take a pause on such action until there's more transparency on what the council is proposing and possible impact to us all. My first question is, how did we get here? We are in the fourth quarter of the 18th fiscal year. Are we running a deficit gap now in this quarter? Is the deficit across the borough or only in the police department? If so, how much? Based on some information that from public information requests to the borough manager, I have some information, and I'm not sure whether I'm speaking out of ignorance, and perhaps some of these issues may have been resolved. But I saw that the borough budget for fiscal year 18 was $4,680,000. The police department was $1,966,546, or 42% of the operating budget, of which $1,008,000 are salaries. The FY19 budget that I saw has a budget of a proposed budget apparently of $5,200,993. It appears to be an estimated increase of about $600,000. Is this so? If it is so, why this increase? Is this the deficit, the gap that we are looking to balance out in 19? I don't know. And also with 19 are the revenue funding streams, certainly for 2018, moving to 2019. Are they flat or are they increasing to support this budget? So there is no information really in clarity that I could see that would make me feel a little bit more comfortable. Now, as opposed to with regards to the 19 with 19 budget, there's a proposal of option A and option B. Both options indicate salaries only and focus only on salaries, not other operating costs. Now, Part A allocates $1,045,755 for salaries, which seemed to me a little bit of a surprise because actually that's an increase from fiscal year 18. Option B, however, reduces the salary from the $1,008,960 of 2018 to $796,969. That's a reduction of 21%. So I am looking at two proposals, and to me, they seem to contradict each other. So I present that to you as sort of a question, why that's so. I'm not an expert in policing, but relying on revolving part-timers does not give me peace of mind. Option B seems to be the unreasonable, aggressive reduction in staffing. Option B reduces 3 corporals to 2, reduces full-time officers from 7 to 3, but it does increase the part-time fill-ins from 6 to 12. I am certain that these part-timers are probably capable, but I think the point that I'm concerned about, are they going to be available when they really need it on a moment's notice? For this reason, I join my fellow citizens in this borough to ask you to hold back on voting on this budget until it is a little bit more clear in terms of the intention of council with regard and respect to the police department. Perhaps a better informed public might offer some suggestions in partnership with you. You certainly heard it at least with Jill and with John, that we can possibly come to some consensus on what might be the best route to go down this for fiscal year 19. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Kathy Panzita. State your name and address for the record, please.
Kathy Panzita, 401 Hillcrest Avenue. I just made one comment. If you're having a public hearing on an amendment to the one, why don't you just put like 2 sign-up sheets so all those people could go first instead of just mingling us all together? That's my only suggestion on that, if it really is a public hearing. And what I really want to know is what exactly are you voting on under 9F, under a proposed preliminary 2019 budget? I couldn't make your meeting last Tuesday, but I have probably watched it 6 to 8 times. It just runs continuously, and we pick up little things. And I did make a phone call to one of my council people to ask, like, what version are you working on? What was handed out? Tuesday, you guys had a discussion, and I know what borough budgets look like. It's economy of scales. You have a hard time. You have a bad infrastructure. It's old. There's no federal money. I definitely know in my job what budget neutrality is. Do more with less. I do know that the state has a problem. I know everybody's after the revenue storms. I did say this when I attended the April Finance Committee meeting and the EIT was discussed. And that was broadcast too a lot of times. You see a figure of $900,000 that you can pump into the borough. But I'm really concerned about what exactly are you going to vote on? Did anything change from your discussion on Tuesday? Are you still having the same copy that was in front of you when I heard comments that concerned me? Like 10% was somewhere put administratively, but the conversation said, yeah, that's probably going to come out because that's a wish list. It's really hard to balance this budget. And what option was prepared? If you're going to vote on a preliminary budget today, are you going to tell us, was it option A, was it option B, or is it option C? I don't like to get my information third hand. I do budgets all day long. I'm going home to work on some after this meeting, so I will not be staying. But I do have a question. What exactly did you have and where did it go? You have 2 full-time people now. You have a borough manager and you have a director of finance. I'm not going to kudo anybody for having a budget in October, but is it balanced? What you're sitting there looking at? And I shake your head. The answer is no, because that was the words and we all heard it. So I'm not going to give kudos to a half project. And I would expect if we're going to complain about other people and put people down, I believe there's good in everybody, even the worst person. But you don't sit there and try to compare what a half-time, part-time person did 2 years ago versus what 2 full-timers did. My other question is, I'm not going to make a comment about what are you doing with your police department or whatever. I find it unbelievable. I've said it before, and I only got thrown into a council seat because I was here one day, and by the luck, there was 2 police officers trying to jumpstart a car. I know what it is to sit up in that council and sit there in a budget and try to budget a half a police car in a year. It's ridiculous. But my question is, if you do vote yes to 9F tonight, will I have to file a right to know, or will I be able to stop by the counter tomorrow to review what you voted on, as it has been done in previous years? And I'll wait to make my statements about a budget. I'm not going to talk about something I have no idea what you're talking about, but a lot of other people got copies. I like to go right to the source and get right to the copy, not everybody's little versions. Thank you.
Thank you. Jane Berger. State your name and address for the record, please.
Jane Berger, 90 West Maple Avenue. First of all, congratulations to Garrett. I hope you have a successful year and learn a lot about local government, its trials, tribulations, benefits, and liabilities. And I hope you will ask questions when there's motions up there and they ask for, if anybody has any questions, please, feel free to ask your question. There's no stupid question, only the one you have that you don't ask. This really is an opportunity to learn about government. I know previous junior council persons have kind of let us know what happens at the school and activities, and that's fine. But to make this a real special experience for you to learn more about government, I really kind of hope you sink your teeth into it and you get all the information you need. Regarding the responsible contract ordinance, I'm here to support the amendments. It was first brought in, I think, 2008. It did not pass that time. It was a strong emphasis to try to keep the requirement at $10,000, which was, at that point, the bidding limits for formal bids in Pennsylvania. When it passed in 2010, the $25,000 figure was really very arbitrary because that's when the prevailing wage kicks in. And there had been efforts at that time to, at that point, which was several years ago, to make that threshold $100,000. And of course, that failed. If you're looking for large projects, and I really wish we had the money to do more of them, to $200,000 is certainly fine. There are a lot of good aspects of the RCO, and I'm glad that you're wanting to keep all of them. But I never did support and continue to oppose the requirement for the Class A apprenticeships. I know there's like a contractor in town who himself was a journeyman. He lived the American dream, started his own company. He tried to work an apprenticeship program, but it didn't work for several reasons. And I know he's a qualified electrician, and certainly he should have the opportunity to bid on projects. For the budget process, I know I was a little confused after the agenda meeting last Tuesday, kind of when it was going on, when we're going to be budget meetings. And I thank the borough manager for kind of clarifying the process that was changed somewhat. As I understand it, the reason for the preliminary budget tonight is instead of having a separate budget meeting that really is not very well attended and oftentimes wasn't even videoed, that you're going to hash out a lot of stuff tonight. And if you come to some decisions, then you would vote for a preliminary budget, which is up for public review. What you are doing that wasn't done in the past is the agenda meeting in November is going to be, I understand, dedicated to a public hearing on the budget. It's a preliminary budget. It can still be changed, and I have a feeling that there probably will be many changes, particularly as you look at the police department, and maybe we'll come up with an option C for that. But I just want to clarify the process, that because you're starting this in October, you do have time for a full public hearing to really get more input, ideas with the public. This budget will be out there, yay, nay, suggestions, whatever, to really have the input for a budget that will help you then work for your final budget that won't be passed until at some point in December. Lost my train of thought. I know no one wants to increase taxes. I really do want to encourage everybody here to start going to your school board meetings. You know, we love education. We've got great kids in this town, but they seem to think nothing about 3 meals, 5 meals every year over the last several years, and I haven't heard a lot of concern raised by it, but I am going to make myself available so I can be educated more on what's going. They're strapped financially too, and they're trying to provide the best education they can for their kids. And you have your job to do, regardless of what the school board does. And that puts you between the rock and the hard place, because we know, I think I could be wrong, it's either 3 or 5 meals that went up, so that's either $60 or $100, so it's going up there. You know, we're just small, we can't build out, and that's why we have these financial difficulties. Maybe the 2017 budget, towards the end of the year, it looked okay, Miss Chronicle, but obviously what I'm hearing going into 2018, there was overestimates for revenues, underestimates for expenditures. There was a cash transfer for the highway aid that never got paid back. That has to get paid back this year. You did cut the budget 3 mills. You cut the extra 2 from the general fund. You cut the 1 from the recreation fund that would have paid for the engineering costs that the previous manager didn't build in for all the grants that had to be done. So you have a difficult job. Those are the highlights that I've gleaned from it. And you're going to have a long night tonight going through this budget, but I certainly hope everyone will be back for the public hearing that will be, I believe, the second Tuesday in November. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom Lesnowski? State your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, Tom Wisnowski, 815 Crown Street. First of all, congratulations. This is wonderful. You're going to hear a lot, particularly over the next few weeks. What I hope you come away with more than anything is that, contrary to what's going on at higher levels in our government and in our country, that responsible, wonderful people can disagree vehemently, can stare each other in the eye with vengeful words and walk away and shake hands and say, I still respect you, or you're still my friend. Okay? That's a really important lesson. And I hope that as this process unfolds, that that's what happens here in Morrisville too, because it's not the trend right now. We all know that. Now that said, option B makes no sense to me. And I've been thinking about it since Tuesday, thinking a lot about it, as you can imagine. It doesn't make sense to me for a few reasons. Reason number one, for the past 20, 30 years, security and safety in Morrisville have been the number one concern. There's been a lot of concerns, development, schools, taxes, on and on and on and on, all important. But the number one concern is safety. Sharon said it. They moved here. When did you say you moved here? The late 60s, because it was a safe town. I would dare say that when you all ran, safety was part of your platform. I would bet, and I would certainly bet that if you were stopped on the street and someone, or you've knocked on someone's door asking them to vote for you, if they asked you about public safety in the police department, that you would say you are committed to a safe town. Of course you are. We all are committed to a safe town. So what I don't get is the first salvo of this year's budget season is an option B that decimates the police department and puts that very safety in jeopardy. I don't get that. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me, especially when what came out of last Tuesday's meeting is that there are no numbers. Christina talked about that. We don't know if there's a deficit. We don't know what kind of hole we're trying to plug. We don't. Maybe you do, but we don't. So it makes no sense. Thing number two that makes no sense. I don't know Chief McClay well at all, but I do know that he's not a warm and fuzzy guy. You know, I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to run up to him and he's going to throw his arms around me and give me a big hug. You know, that's not him. That's fine. You may not like Chief McClay personally, but I will tell you that considering the turmoil that our police department was in a couple of years ago, he's done a remarkable job here. Type 1 crime in 5 years is down 50%, or projected to be down 50%. That's fantastic. And yet, so he's obviously an expert, and yet you won't talk to him. That makes no sense. You won't let him stand here and have a discussion with you, or sit there and have a discussion with you about this budget and about what the realities of this situation are. You shut him out of public comment. You can't do that. It makes no sense. The third thing that makes no sense, I think you've hired a wonderful borough manager. I think the best, or maybe certainly one of the best that I can ever remember here. I think that you are really capable. I think you have a great understanding of what's important. And I know you understand finance. I know you understand budget. And yet, option B comes out without any kind of supporting documents. The first thing that we see as the public is a document that says we're going to decimate our police department and put our safety, our public safety at risk. And that makes no sense to me either. So the big question is why? And if you go far enough down the rabbit hole, there are some pretty troubling answers. And I don't really want to get into that tonight because I don't want to be inflammatory. But there are some answers that really I stared at my ceiling last night when I should have been asleep, thinking, boy, I hope that some of these things are not true. There's a bunch of us here tonight. There are a few of us here wearing red. Thanks, Justin, for taking the lead on wearing red. Really appreciate that. You're probably going to start seeing more and more red if option B advances. Red in this particular instance is our symbol for stop. Stop option B. Option B has no place in a budget discussion. Cutting our police department by 5 full-time officers has no place in Morrisville. Please just move on, forget that plan, and let's come up with something else. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'm going to close public comment. First, I'll ask if there's any council that wish to say something at this time, make it very short. I let people go over. It's a passionate thing that everyone's talking about. We try to stay as restrained as we could so the meeting doesn't go to 1 o'clock in the morning. So I appreciate you trying to stay within that as close as you could. But make it very short of council because you have public comment at the end too for the officials.
If I may?
Sure.
Thank you, Madam President. So I just want to touch base on a couple things real quick. First on RCO, I just want to be clear on this, that the Class A apprenticeship program, the way I view it, is it's a competitive advantage. It shuts out 80% of the potential bidders that could and reasonably will drive down the price of projects. So for me, that's the intention here, is to open up that bidding and make it fair across the board. I'll touch base on the shortfall that people are asking about before I touch base on the budget real quick, and say that we walked into a budget that was created by the prior administration. Not talking about spending here. I'm going to talk about revenues that were put in that budget. We're going to fall between $500,000 to $600,000 short of their anticipated revenues because they were never going to be collected. So the budget shortfall isn't about spending. It's about what the anticipation was for revenues. So just to clarify that, so people have a better understanding. And I will say on the budget, as it was stated before, and in the time I've been following and watching, I've never seen the conversation start in October. I've seen the conversation start mid to late November and be rushed in at the end of December, sometimes even on New Year's Eve, having a special meeting just to get it in under the deadline. And what it would come to is a preliminary budget that literally had no movement to little movement because those decisions were made behind closed doors. That isn't happening now. You guys are seeing the wish list from all department heads. This is how it starts. This isn't how it ends. This budget is going to be a very fluid process, and there's going to be a lot of questions asked. Why? Because there's going to be a lot of information out there for the public to see, so you could see the decision-making process and understand better how it looks to us, so we can include you, not disclude you from that information. In the past, I would sit here in budget meetings before I was on council with nothing in my hands, nothing to follow along with, because it was a very close-knit, very closed-off process that very few people were allowed to see and touch. You will all have that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else real quick?
I'd like to say a few words too. For those of you in red, I didn't know about that, so it was just coincidence. I've heard your words. As Mike has said, we're trying to make this a very open process. We're early in the stages. What we're voting on tonight is a proposed budget that really has no meaning because it will be unbalanced. But it's so that we can say, hey, here's the wish list. Scott has already said that after tonight's vote, if we approve that budget, the document will be placed on our website so that everybody can download it and view it. A lot of you have got up here and passionately spoke about the police department. That's great. One thing I would like you, and whether you do it in public comment or you come to me, everyone wants the police department to have money. Provide options, do you want higher taxes? Do you want an earned income tax? Do you want us to cut other places? Everybody wants the police department to have money, but nobody's saying where they want to see the money come from. We're in a very difficult position up here, and as every month goes by, it gets even more difficult. So my ears are open. My email's on the website, my phone number's on the website. Reach out to me. I don't mind meeting with a group of people and talking and discussing. And as Jill said, maybe we'll come up with great ideas. Maybe somebody will think outside the box and we'll come up with something that nobody anywhere has ever thought of and be great and it works. Maybe we don't. I think we're all very open to discussing this, and we're still early in the process.
Okay. Thank you.
Debbie, can I speak? I know there's a lot of people up here tonight talking about the RCO. I was on council when this came up. There were 3 people that sat up on this dais that were very involved with the IBEW. No one ever came to council before saying, we need an apprenticeship program on our ordinance for contractors to bid for the borough work. No one. I don't remember anyone coming up and saying that, and we never had an issue with anyone doing the work. If we did, then the engineer would take care of that. So in 2008, like Ms. Berger said, it was not voted in. In 2010, it was voted in. As those 3 people were up at the dais, as I said, one was our borough manager. And they voted for this, and this was just in time for the electrical contract for the street lighting. Johnson Control came in with a bid, and a presentation. No one else did, just Johnson Control, which is union, and all their workers are union. I was on council, as I said, saw no contract, but yet council voted to approve the contract. Now you tell me how that's legal. Then the next week, they had the contract and they voted it again. I wrote a right to know for the bids or any paperwork that came in to bid this job, which ended up costing us $1.7 million for 17 years. We're still paying for this. And it was said, no such documents.
Okay.
So there you have it.
Thank you, Eileen. I think we're getting off
I need to
on the
address some
meeting.
I need to, everyone had their piece. I just want to briefly say, heard a couple nice sound bites out there this evening. One was some people in this town aren't unioned and they're good, they're qualified, and talked about the mom and pop shops. Nowhere in this RCO does it say you have to be a union contractor or a signatory. This is my turn, sir. Someone said, show me where there's no proof that apprenticeship is safety. Well, no one ever said it. I don't know where that soundbite is. The councilman here, he actually, Mr. Yeager said, in his opinion, getting rid of apprenticeship will drive the cost down. I've heard that many times. I'm going to tell you that that's a great soundbite. It's absolutely incorrect. Because, and the solicitor here will agree, I think Ms. Berger said it, there's a threshold for prevailing rate. When you do government work, especially if you have grant money, after $20,000, prevailing rate kicks in. There's one way a contractor can save money, and it's to have apprentices. Otherwise, he has to pay journey person, not journeyman, that's what we would call them, rate for everyone. But if that person on the job, if there's a mix of apprentices and journey people through a recognized apprenticeship, then they can charge less per hour. If they're not registered, then when the certified payroll comes through during the audit and projects are audited, then everyone has to get the full rate. We just heard about this Johnson Controls union, but they're not a union hiring hall. They don't hire that way. And Johnson Control did not hire the contractors to do this work for the project. They went out to bid. And I can assure you, because people love to try to tie me to this as an IBEW member, electricians didn't change the windows. We didn't put the ductwork in. We didn't change the boiler. People love to try to make this about electricians. It's not. I understand why they do it, and I'm an electrician, so people want to group me into this, but that is just incorrect information. I don't want to take up everyone's time, so I'm going to read some of the RCO as it stands during the mayor's report.
I was going to say, can you do it at that time or when the motion comes up? Because we're debating that motion before we got there. And that's for everyone sitting here.
Because by changing the threshold, all these safeguards are also thrown out the window on a $199,000 project of your tax dollars.
All right. These are heated, okay? All right. I'm going to bring up so that everybody can come off the ledge when it comes to this budget thing because of a different process that we were trying to do this year, and obviously everybody's on the ledge about it and how we were doing it. It was stated exactly what Mr. Yeager said and Mr. Bowers, that the idea was to put out the wish list. If this is what you first have on your numbers is what was going out. It was a proposed preliminary. The idea was to have several meetings after that, be able to vote the actual preliminary November 13th at a public hearing at that time. So what I'm going to ask tonight, because I have scheduled budget meetings on the 23rd, 24th of October with the council, it's advertised to do that. It will be a work session meeting for them. After that, they can vote for this preliminary at whatever that's going to be on November 13th. They have to. We have a timeline to get that done, okay? The permanent one that goes up for a vote is in December, but it must be voted on November 13th. So I'm going to ask that the motion for 9E to amend, 9F, the motion to adopt the proposed preliminary 2019 budget be deferred instead of voting tonight and it will be voted on that November 13th meeting so that those budget meetings can be discussed. Does that make everybody feel better? Okay? Is that okay with the consensus of the council?
Yes.
So be it. It's going to be deferred.
I would just ask that, can we post this budget that we've been talking about with the wish list on the website today or tomorrow?
Well, most people have right to note it. We're not holding anything back, so you can paste it on your walls or scribble it or write your notes
this-
or whatever you want to do with it.
Yeah, but if we put it on the website, they don't have to come into the borough office if they can't make it during hours, or they'd like an electronic document.
Let the manager speak on that.
We can certainly post it if council would like. I don't think we've had any right to know requests for this document, so anyone who has it got it from someone. But certainly I consider it public record, so anybody who wants a copy of it, we'd be happy to provide it.
So let's put it on the website so you're not getting 50 requests for it.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I'm going to backtrack where we were. We're going to move on to approval of our minutes.
I want to let the room exit out. Or you can keep going.
Okay. Didn't want to stick around for that part? Okay, if there's no objections from the council, I will ask for a vote on 6A and 6B, the meeting minutes to be voted on at one time. No objections? No. Okay. Then I will ask for a motion to approve 6A and 6B, which are the Borough Council meetings of August 14th, 2018, and the regular Borough Council meetings of August 20th, 2018. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments on this motion? Oh, one abstention? Okay. Okay, could we have a roll call on that, please, Virginia? Yes, for both of them, yes, correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Councilwoman Chronicle?
Yes.
Councilwoman Larison?
Yes.
Councilman Nay?
Yes.
Abstention?
Councilwoman Smith?
Yes.
And Councilman Yeager?
Yes.
That's 7 votes for and 1 abstention for Mr. Parker. Okay, we're going to move on to finance. 7A is the Treasury Report, which is your financial statement that everyone got this past week. Hopefully you all looked at that. It's your running budget to see where you stand. And if you had any questions, you call the office about it. I'll ask if anyone has anything that they need to ask about it. This would be your time to do it. Okay. Then we're going to vote for 7B. We're going to call for a motion to approve the bill list and pay the bills. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. And can we call the vote on that, please?
Councilman Bowers?
Yes.
Councilwoman Dreisbach?
Yes.
Councilwoman Chronicle?
Yes.
Councilwoman Larison?
Yes.
Councilman Nay?
Yes.
Councilman Parker?
Yes.
Councilwoman Smith?
Yes.
And Councilman Yeager?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0. Okay, we'll go on to the reports. 8A is our mayor's report.
Again, first, I'd like to welcome Garrett and congratulate you. Happy to have you here. And I was honored tonight to recognize the Morrisville Yardley Area Rotary Club. It's a nice accomplishment, 90 years of service that they've done. And lastly, I'm going to address a little bit of the RCO. That way I don't have to take up all the time when that motion's on the floor. First thing we heard tonight was that it is about these small jobs that council's concerned with. Well, the RCA won't actually be affected in any way doing small jobs once this gets changed. And I do believe it's going to be changed this evening. Everyone knows that in any municipality, the lowest responsible bidder gets awarded the contract. And so before this was put in place, there was no definition of what that meant. So if you had the low bid, you were going to get the job. So just a few things I'm picking from one page that hasn't been lined out, so which would still be in place. That, let's see, the firm has not been debarred by any federal, state, local government agency or authority in the past 3 years. The firm has not defaulted on any project in the past 3 years. The firm has not had any type of business, contracting, license, registration, or other certification suspended or revoked in 3 years. The firm has not been cited for willful violation of federal or state safety laws in the past 3 years. The firm's owners have not been convicted of a crime relating to contracting business by a final decision of a court or government agency in the past 10 years. So these are safeguards for unknown contractors that we don't know come in. So if you said, hey, listen, your track record's pretty bad. We don't want to deal with you. We want someone who's reputable. And I think most people would say that. That makes sense. We want reputable contractors. And this kicks in at $25,000. Well, now on a $100,000 project, we'll take that guy that's been debarred and has been arrested and everything else, or 150, 190, because it's not going to be in effect. Because the change tonight is saying we only care about these issues at 200,000. So to me, that's really pretty amazing. Also, they talk about apprenticeships being union. Well, I've been very open that I've done my apprenticeship, started it at the tech school in the evening. It was an open shop. It wasn't a union program. So anyone can go to an apprenticeship. You don't have to be through organized labor. What the ratio is, I don't really know. But I believe in apprentices because we want trained people. There's a few other things that I think are disturbing about removing it. Again, I think we want responsible people, and that's what this outlines. We want people. Well, the other thing that I had said earlier, which is a soundbite that I've heard, not just here, you hear it a lot. Again, I want to say this, I'm repeating myself, but I want to make sure people understand. Prevailing rate means it's apples to apples. It doesn't matter what the trade is. You could be building a retaining wall of concrete on the levee, right, to keep the wooders out. So a prevailing rate, everyone bids the same amount. Whatever the rate for the area is established by that area. So that gives all contractors an equal playing field. Of course, sometimes they cheat and they say, well, while that guy was driving the truck, he's a truck driver, we're going to change his rate. But if he got caught, he would have been out. We don't want him because he's a cheater. So everyone's going to use the same formula to bid their project. Again, the only way to get the cost down, which is helping us save tax dollars, is by having an apprentice ratio. The apprentices make far less money. So the contractor doesn't have to pay the journey person prevailing rate for everyone, and that's so they can save by having apprentices. People love to say it jacks the price up, but really, if you're not cheating, it's the only way to get the cost down is by having apprentices. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Rivera. At this time, it would normally be a report from our junior council person, but we're not going to put him on pressure to have that tonight. But no, if you would like to say anything, you can at this time. It's up to you, but it's completely up to you.
Good evening, council members. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Garrett Foy. I'm a senior at Conwell Egan, and I attended Holy Trinity and have lived in Morrisville my entire life. I'm proud to be able to work with you and give a high school student's perspective at each meeting. I hope together we can continue to make Morrisville a great town to live in. A few upcoming events at Conwell Egan open for the entire community. Our first ever Conwell Evil Haunted House on October 26th and 27th, which is sure to bring everyone in the school community and Bucks County community together for 2 nights of festivities. And also an event that will take place in December is the Christmas concert and bonfire, which the official date has yet to be determined, but I'll keep you guys posted.
Thank you.
I will be sure to keep you all aware of additional upcoming events at Conwell Egan as they are developed and announced. Again, I would like to thank you all for this opportunity to be a junior council person and look forward to coming to all the meetings.
Thank you. Thank you, Garrett.
Madam President, I would just like to say something. Welcome, Garrett.
Yes.
And I'd also like to encourage you to challenge yourself as you walk around the borough, as you go to your school functions, as you go to the park, look out for things that would affect teenagers that we may not think about, that you can bring to our attention and at the local government, and that we can work to, identify problems and fix them if necessary.
We look forward to working with you. Okay. We're now going to move on to our action items. 9A is the Halloween policy. I believe this is on our borough channel, correct? Do we put this on our borough channel? I believe we do. Well, we will, right? Sure we will. Scott will put this on our borough channel. Now that I put him on the spot, sure we will. It's probably a good thing. So I'm just going to, we normally read it real quick, so I will read it just so that as it's being recorded, people watching at home, they're going to know what these things, a lot of it's pretty common sense. It is the policy of the mayor and the borough council that all door-to-door trick-or-treat activity in connection with Halloween shall take place on Wednesday, October 31st, 2018, until 8 p.m. All children under 16 years of age shall be accompanied by a responsible adult. Tips for the motorists are obey the speed limits. Watch your children walking along the road and who may run into the street. If you are going to a party, please remember to designate a sober driver. Tips for the parents and the guardians: buy or make brightly colored, highly visible costumes for children that do not interfere with a child's ability to see, hear, or walk. Add strips of reflective tape or darker color costumes and trick-or-treat bags. Provide a flashlight or a glow stick for children to carry. Always accompany the children while they are trick-or-treating. Remind children to pay attention to their surroundings at all times. Tips for the children: walk instead of running when crossing those streets. Look both ways before approaching cars, before stepping off of the curb. Walk on sidewalks whenever possible. Residents are cautioned not to permit anyone into their home unless they know the identity of a such person. Conversely, the children and the parents are cautioned not to enter anyone's home unless they know the residents, and then only if they have the permission of the parent or the guardian. Children should bring all edibles to their parent or guardian before eating such items. Parents should carefully inspect all items given their children to ensure such items are safe. The mayor and the borough council wish everyone a happy and safe holiday, Halloween holiday. Sorry, I got the backward. But yes, we will have this put on also the borough website and onto our channel so that people will know this also. So,
if I may add to that, just to let everyone know that for the public, the chief and I discussed this. We're going to have 5 additional officers on the street, some in cars, some on bicycles. So enjoy your holiday.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to read the motion. It's a call for a motion to adopt the 2018 Halloween policy. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Yes. Yes, sir. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. 9B, call for a motion to approve the Morrisville Borough co-sponsoring the October 21st Friends of the Morrisville Dog Park Monster March Halloween Parade just south of the dog park. That would be our open space area. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 8-0. 9C, call for a motion to adopt an ordinance establishing parking regulations for the Morrisville Commercial District. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments on this motion?
I'll make a quick comment. Just for anybody who doesn't typically follow along, but is interested tonight, this is the first step in removing those wonderful parking meters we have on Bridge Street.
Yes. Anyone else? Okay, just for the knowledge, I did mention this at the agenda meeting, but I'll mention it again. It's to establish a 2-hour parking regulation in the commercial district, which is curbside street parking along Bridge Street between Pennsylvania Avenue and Delmore Ave. Okay, and we had a motion and a second, so we have a roll call, please.
Councilman Bauer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Drive?
Yes.
Councilwoman Prodigal?
Yes.
Councilwoman Larison?
Yes.
Councilman Nay?
Yes.
Councilman Parker?
Yes.
Councilwoman Smith?
Yes.
And Councilman Yeager?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0. 9D, call for a motion to approve the emergency operations plan. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments on this motion? Okay, everyone got everything? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Bauer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Drive?
Yes.
Councilwoman Prodigal?
Yes.
Councilwoman Larison?
Yes.
Councilman Nay?
Yes.
Councilman Parker?
Yes.
Councilwoman Smith?
Yes.
And Councilman Yeager?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0. We're going to 9E. Call for a motion to amend the responsible contract ordinance. Can I have a
So
motion,
moved.
please?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Questions or comments on this motion at this time?
Madam President, if I may.
Sure.
I'll keep it brief.
Okay.
So just to touch base on this again real quick, because I really just gave a quick overview on it being, a competitive advantage, because in my mind it is. It's a basic economic theory that more competition creates lower prices. That's what our economy is built on, quite frankly. And I don't think you'll find anybody that has any economist experience that would tell you otherwise. That's what drives the market. It drives down prices. But all that said, there was another piece that was brought to my attention that actually Councilman Bowers was able to find, which is right now in Pennsylvania, there are several, and the list is growing, government entities that have RCO currently that are being sued by a group of contractors and builders right now. And I had actually somebody reach out to me last week to, I'll say, lobby for keeping RCO in place here. And my question had to be to this gentleman, he's a nice guy, but my question had to be to this gentleman, are you going to bankroll the lawsuit if it hits Morrisville? And he didn't like hearing that, but his response to me was, but are they winning? And my answer to that is they don't have to cost us a lot of money in legal fees. So in trying to represent the community as opposed to a special interest, I have to say that even the potential of being sued over something like this just doesn't put me in a position to be in favor of it. In my mind, it's bad government to legislate a competitive advantage. Thank you. And by the way, the school and the MMA don't have it. So if we're paving roads with the MMA and we're worried about this not being available, it's not available there. And one more thing, Mr. Bowers, there are rules in place. This is not the Wild West. The state has specific requirements already built that we have to follow. This doesn't create a Wild West scenario where things are just haphazardly happening and this board gets to pick and choose who they're funneling money to. It's not how that works. There are still rules that we have to abide by for the bidding process. It doesn't create a void in the law. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes, I would just like to briefly say that I will be voting no on the amendments. I do find that there's value in keeping the responsible contractor ordinance. I do think that it is important, again, because we are legally required to accept the lowest bid, and I think that these things are in place to protect particularly our public properties. So I am not in a union. I don't have a dog in this fight. I just think that, again, it's important to have these things in place. But in terms of things with the budget and everything else, there's been a lot of talk about the public having a say. And as far as this goes, as far as this amendment goes, apart from tonight, the public hasn't had a chance to discuss this at all because, first of all, it wasn't even on our agenda in September. It was added verbally at the end of the meeting in September. And I specifically asked in September, what amendments are you going to be putting forth to be voted on? And I got blank faces and shrugged shoulders. So again, I think that to eliminate this problem would be to bring back the committee reports and also the manager's report, because again, this is a way to get the ball rolling in the discussion. And at the end of the day, the vote's going to be what the vote is going to be. And as someone said, sometimes it just comes down to a difference of opinion, and that's fine. But to kind of keep these things out of discussion, it doesn't make sense to me, and it doesn't wash. And to say, well, these things are out there, people just have to ask for them, is disingenuous at best. So again, I would really like to see the committee reports and the manager's report brought back so that we could have discussions on these things, and we're not trying to push these through so quickly. So that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Madam President, if I may make one very brief comment. Something I didn't mention earlier, just listening, it came back to me. There was a comment made, and again, a difference of opinion I certainly would agree to, and it was a pretty good question. It said that the Morrisville is looking to put some, like a splash pad down at the park. We're looking to do things, and it went out to bid. They didn't get bidders, and then I think finally one bid, and one of the council people said, well, I don't know if we could even take them because they probably don't have an apprenticeship or they don't have one. So I know this won't happen, but my way of thinking is to leave the RCO and add a sentence or two, and again, I don't believe it would happen, but is once the borough puts a project out for bid, does its due diligence, and nothing comes back that would meet the requirements, at that time, I believe that the council would have the right to actually waive it for a particular contractor. To just, to gut the whole thing because of one project, I don't think that's right. I think they should try to put things out to bid and look at them individually. But like I said, that's just what I think should happen, and I don't think it's going to ever have many merit here.
If I could just rebuttal that real quick. I was sitting here when you asked that to our attorney, Flager, at the time. This came up last month, and he turned around and said to you, no, you can't do that. It's an ordinance of law. You can't waive that. Well, I heard him say that to you.
Well, that was actually something totally different. I was asking about waiving the entire ordinance. And what I was suggesting tonight is if a contractor came back that didn't have the apprenticeship, which seems to be the sticking point for people, at that point, the council could waive that one particular thing. And that's actually what other solicitors have told me, that the council can do what it wants, and they can waive whatever they want. Again, I don't think council's going to listen to that, but that's something that I wish they would consider.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I would just like to point out that at the August agenda meeting, I did give an update on what the actual changes were to be to the responsible contractors ordinance that the Policy and Ordinance Committee was sending to the borough manager and council president. I apologize, it did get delayed from August till this agenda to make it, but that was given at the meeting. It's on video. You can go back and review it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, it did. In fact, I received the first one because it's lined out and it says 100,000, and then somewhere between that and the one that I got prepared says 200,000.
Correct. Those changes were given. The council did get them. By Councilwoman Chronicle doesn't have them. I really don't know. It should have been in her packet. Everyone else got it. So don't know where that's coming from. Anyone else? Okay. We have a motion and a second. Then we're going to call for a roll call on this.
Councilman Bowers?
Yes.
Councilwoman Drysdale?
Yes.
Councilwoman Chronicle?
No.
Councilwoman Larison?
Yes.
Councilman Nay?
Yes.
Councilman Parker?
No.
Councilwoman Smith?
Yes.
And Councilman Yates?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-2. Okay. 9F was deferred, so we'll move on to 9G. Call for a motion to award Plaza Boulevard and Deloro Drive paving project bid to Earl Asphalt Company in the amount of $185,913.13 per the recommendation of the borough engineer and subject to liquid fuels funds. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Oh, jeez. Holy cow. Okay.
Everyone
Who did the motion?
Good.
You can have that, Mike.
Okay, Mike did the motion. Okay, and who seconded it?
I did.
Okay, and Ted seconded it. They all jumped on it.
Fourth word speaking up.
The fourth word, okay. All right, any questions or comments on this motion? Okay, everyone got the information?
Wait to see it done.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, can we call the roll on that?
Councilman Bowers?
Yes.
Councilwoman Drysdale?
Yes.
Councilwoman Chronicle?
Yes.
Councilwoman Larison?
Yes.
Councilman Nay?
Yes.
Councilman Parker?
Yes.
And Councilwoman Smith?
Yes.
And Councilman Yates?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0.
Yay.
Yeah. Next motion is 9H. Call for a motion to authorize, is that Huff? Huff. Did I say? I'm sorry. Authorize Huff Associates to collect 2018 residential and commercial recycling data and prepare the Pennsylvania DEP 904 recycling grant applications for Morrisville Borough for a fee not to exceed $1,900. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. It's been motioned in second. And if we can call the vote on that, please.
Councilman Bowers?
Yes.
Councilwoman Drysdale?
Yes.
Councilwoman Chronicle?
Yes.
Councilwoman Larison?
Yes.
Councilman Nay?
Yes.
Councilman Parker?
Yes.
Councilwoman Smith?
Yes.
And Councilman Yeager?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0. Motion 9I, call for a motion to authorize the execution of grant contract for the Watershed Restoration and Protection Program through the Pennsylvania DCED in the amount of $187,992 for Melvin Avenue Basin Improvements Project. Can I
So
have a
moved.
motion, please?
Second.
Yeager. Could we have a motion and a second? Call the roll, please.
Councilman Bowers?
Yes.
Councilwoman Drysdale?
Yes.
Councilwoman Chronicle?
Sorry, I just had a quick question. You didn't
I'm
answer
sorry.
that. Is this the basin?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Councilwoman Larison?
Yes.
Councilman Nay?
Yes.
Councilman Parker?
Yes.
Councilwoman Smith?
Yes.
And Councilman Yeager?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0. 9J, call for motion to accept the resolution number PC 2018-01 of the Morrisville Borough Planning Commission to declare the properties located at 39, 41, 43, and 45 Park Avenue, Morrisville, PA, as blighted properties.
Whoa, 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 whoa. No, no, no.
Missed one.
What?
That's not what we have.
That's not what
Yeah,
we
no,
have.
we have.
That's what I have on
That's
my.
what it's supposed to be, but it's not on here right.
Not on here.
It should be 01 and not 02.
We have 9L, and then we go. Where you at? 9J, but our 9J is.
An I.
That's an I.
PC. Is that an I? Oh, yeah, 9I to J, PC 2018-02.
You should have through 9N.
We do
No,
not.
we do
No,
not.
we have till K.
So we have to add that.
We do not have the updated agenda. Everything from there up is correct. Everything from there down is
LMN.
not.
You have three more after this.
That's what
Hold
was
on.
in our, well, that was in my envelope. Justin's too.
Oh.
Was that in yours?
Yeah, that's what I just said.
From this side down is
Yeah,
Okay.
this side.
The
Oh,
one,
so it's just not on our version.
I wonder if it's on.
we're going by the one that was in your delivery on
Yes.
Friday.
Okay. Yeah, I remember
All right.
it being there. I just don't have it on here. I'm good then.
Because it's usually in our packet.
All right, hold on. So we're doing,
Yeah.
That's correct.
The one that came in.
this one's correct, but they don't have this.
No. Well, everybody has the correct one from
And it
their
was in my packet.
delivery on Friday.
Yeah, the
What I
one I
just read?
printed from my
One that
packet
was
is
in your
correct.
folder
Right.
tonight is
It's just
what
a
we
misprint
call
on
in the
what's in
business.
front of me now.
poo-poo.
So she's saying she doesn't have this one. I am right by reading this, right? Correct?
Yes, you
Okay.
are.
And you-
It's just,
The
it wasn't
paper
in our.
one that we received in our packets today.
It's different than.
Correct.
Yeah.
I got it.
I'm good though.
Do you have this, though?
Yes, it's
So
in
that
our
was in the
delivery.
Friday delivery,
So what
right?
I read was correct to you?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, I didn't know that because I thought this is what we were going by.
Oh,
The
you,
paper
oh,
one.
you were looking, okay, I'm sorry, you were looking at the wrong one. Okay. Phew.
Our mistake.
So is
My
this
apologies.
is the correct agenda at the front of the room for people who wanted to comment?
Good question.
Okay, so no. so
Sounds
she-
like not.
103, not 01.
Was it, was it the corrected one that's out there?
No.
The one I have, the one I read. Would you like me to repeat that motion since, since just in case? Oh, it's in, before it went south? Can I?
They have up to K. They just don't
They have
have
up
the
to K.
3 late
This is
arrivals.
Okay. Okay, do you want me to continue, you want me to reread that, the 9J, so everybody? Okay. Call for a motion to accept the resolution number PC 2018-01 of the Morrisville Borough Planning Commission to declare the properties located at 39, 41, 43, and 45 Park Avenue, Morrisville, PA, as blighted properties. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Okay. Any questions or comments on that motion?
Yes.
Oh, because you don't have it.
Right.
Okay.
J and K are on there.
Well, there are a few changes.
But some of them are out of order.
So the public has that one. Do you want me to open it for public comment?
Yes.
Okay. All right, then I'll open it for public comment on this motion.
Name and address for the record.
Your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Steve Carroll, 51 Park Avenue. I see it's up for vote that 39 and I believe 41 are up for blighted property. They are currently being built as we speak. So if you put them on a blighted property list, what do you do to the people that are invested in there now and currently rebuilding?
When you're done, I got you.
No, I would like it on record.
It will be, just after public comment's over.
Okay, because there's
Yes.
two of them that have not, that are currently blighted.
Yep.
They are.
Okay.
The
We'll
currently
answer
ones
that.
are 39 and 41, I believe. They are currently being rebuilt, so there has to be a
which we know.
change to that. All right, just in case there's any confusion.
Okay.
Gotcha. All right.
And it is confusing, but we'll explain that. Anyone else who wants to comment? Okay. I believe when this was blighted originally, all four of them with the vacant property committee, it had to blight it all at once because they had not given a timeline at that time to do their building.
No,
Because
we
they-
only voted on two properties.
No, I thought we voted on four. We didn't.
No, not the committee.
You voted on two.
Yeah. We didn't vote on the ones that he's talking about, and there is
Okay.
a house.
So this is wrong.
No, this is, you're voting on the Planning Commission's resolution 2018-01.
Okay.
This is what the Planning Commission approved. This is what you're voting on.
Correct.
Okay.
But if
As
I may,
for the-
Madam President?
As for the gentleman's question about the two properties that are under construction, we know they submitted plans, they have permits. This would not affect them at all.
Right.
Because anybody who's declared blighted is going to be notified that they have a certain amount of time to make improvements to their property. They've already started that. We know that. But this predated that activity.
Right.
So that's why this is being done this way.
It's just a process that it goes through. It has to go through us, then to the Planning Commission, then back to the RDA. So there's a process for it. This is something that they already had done before they started building on those homes. We're aware they're building on them, and as long as they're in their process and our zoning officer has been speaking to them, they realize that we're not blighting those properties because they're doing what they need to do. It's just a little confusing because this is a resolution that was from that meeting previously, like the manager said, with our planning commission because that was one of their steps they had to do. There's certain steps legally we have to do the whole process.
And even for the two lots that are not under construction right now, that property owner will be notified and is given an opportunity to cure the blight before the borough takes any official action. Right. So.
Yeah, there's twice that they get a 30-day notice in this process. So they can do something with those properties. It's just a procedural thing that we do, and they are notified, and they have a certain amount of time to move on that, to make those changes. And they're well aware of it because the zoning officer did speak with them. Okay?
And if I may, Madam President, just real quick, just to really make it clear as can be. At the Vacant Properties Committee meeting, we spoke about all four properties. We decided on blading two of them. That information went to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission made the decision based on their resolution to blight all four. But that doesn't mean we have to take action if there's a plan in place. And that's kind of what they're saying now is, yes, we know, but there is a plan in place for those two.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, this is a new process for me. I'm a little bit confused because isn't it going to, like, as the gentleman just stated, wouldn't this be on public record then that those two properties are blighted properties?
At the time they did that resolution with that meeting, it was blighted. That's what we're saying.
But if this, but my question is, if this motion passes, aren't they blighted properties? This is what the motion says, correct?
And we're accepting what they did at the time. We're accepting what we're voting on, what they gave us in the resolution. We have, when the Planning Commission, which you got in your packet, sends over the resolution that they voted on at that meeting, we have to formally accept what they sent us in that resolution. those owners are working on the properties. This is just a process that we have to do for our records. It shows that it went through the proper procedures.
And Madam President, it's also a protection. If anything stops progress-wise on those properties, we're already in process to move forward. It puts them on notice to complete the project because they are problem properties.
Anyone else?
Sorry, I just had another quick question. There was a gentleman that had come up for previous, I think it's 9K.
9L.
Now it's 9L. The 50 Union Street, was there a letter that was supposed to be sent before this process, or is the letter, what was that letter that was sent out?
Can we wait till we get that motion, since we're on this motion?
Well, it seems like the whole process is, I have an issue with this whole process. I'm just trying to, understand. Because apparently, I'm assuming that if letters went out to 50, the letters went out to the other ones as well.
There's a process for all of them to be done, and the process is exactly the same.
Right, that's why I'm asking the question now.
Well, we're not talking about 50, we're talking about the ones on Park Ave.
You want me to?
Yeah, could you, yeah.
Yeah. Property owners do get notified, not only by us, but by the redevelopment authority. And if it goes beyond the redevelopment authority to the court, they get notified again. Whether or not that first notification has been done yet, I don't know, but we will find out, and I can have the zoning officer call the gentleman from 50 Union Street.
Right here.
Hi.
No, I didn't get anything.
I think it's obviously everybody wants the town to look beautiful, and blight is a big problem. But to set this train in motion, it is a dangerous thing. And if we're not even letting these people know that this process was taking place, to then declare these properties as blighted is extreme, and it could again be a slippery slope.
My question is, do we have any legal documentation that we went ahead and notified these owners? Do we have, certified letters, receipts from certified letters? Do we have anything from a process server that shows we served them with a legal notice? Do we have a history of code enforcement violations that have been issued? Do we have that? I mean, I haven't been presented with anything.
Yeah, they do get notified by certified mail, and there is a history of code issues at each property. That's the basis that the Blight Committee uses. Yeah.
So when those notifications go out and the code company has all those, then it's turned over to the RDA when they have all that.
I mean, I would feel more comfortable voting yes for some. I mean, I understand the reason behind it, but if we don't even have it presented to us, how do we know? And we're voting to move this forward, and we're having a question as to whether or not they were properly served. At least afford us the opportunity to view those documents before we move this forward. I think that's the prudent thing to do at this point, and I think legally we have an obligation to make sure that we, before we vote for it, know that that the borough has properly served these property owners with notification.
Actually,
and at least present it.
I'm not sure they get served prior to your action tonight.
So when it was blighted, they were not afforded the opportunity to come before the Planning Commission and present plans to try to be excluded from it?
No.
Okay. So we're just going to start the process of seizing somebody's property without at least notifying them before it starts?
Well, they get notification by certified mail, and then they have a period for corrective action to make
we
improvements.
know what the period is. Have we... is it 30 days? Is it
30
I actually don't know the length of time off the top
start
of
a
my
plan to rehabilitate the property, or is it 30 days to get it done? What is it? I mean,
they have to show those plans within that period of time of what they are going to do with that property, and then start the process
before we
on
go
it.
ahead and start the clock running. Do we know what the plan is? Do we know what it is? Because I don't know.
It's 30 days from notification.
Right. They have to present to the borough it's not public comment at this time. It's not public comment this time. We're in the middle of a motion.
I have to agree with him. It says that 1 year of notification of correcting the property. Do we have proof that we notified them 1 year in advance?
I think we have notification right now, because if he's reading off a document, we have notification, right?
It's the rules, right?
I also have concerns because, yes, again, at the end of this whole process, the borough could seize these properties. And again, if people are working on these properties to get them, they shouldn't be considered belated.
I just have a problem with wholesale confiscation of personal and real property without due process, and I think we're starting the ball moving without that due process. I mean, at least dot your I's and cross your T's.
The due process, you do understand the ones on, we're actually on a motion for the Park Ave ones right now.
I'm not comfortable with doing it. If you're comfortable with
and you do
seizing-
understand they were burnt down a year ago, and nothing was being moved on 2 of those.
2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Almost 2 years ago.
Which
So on the Park Ave, we're on a motion for Park Ave. You're jumping to 50. We're on Park Ave. Can we stay on
all
Park
of them,
Ave?
actually.
Okay.
You haven't presented us with any documentation. You want us to vote and take everybody's word for it, but I haven't seen it.
There were underlying proceedings with the board to get it to this point.
And we're sure that they have it. We're sure.
You don't get to this point without there being a prior determination that there were unremedied code violations and they otherwise meet the definition of a blighted property under the law. Now, there are still due process procedural protections to keep eminent domain from being exercised. I mean, the government just doesn't step in on the strength of a voice vote here tonight and seize a property. I mean, that raises huge constitutional issues, and that's not the way it goes. That being said, I mean, there is, regardless of whether there is a question, I mean, the initial notice, as I understand it, like Mr. Mitchell said, goes out by certified mail. Whether or not that was actually received or not, gentleman's clearly received some kind of notification to enable him to be here tonight. There's adequate procedural protections moving forward, and this is not the end of the line. I mean, this is really just accepting the underlying resolution of the planning commission that these properties meet the definition of blighted on their face.
Right.
I just have a problem with somebody whose house suffered a house fire because of another residence next to them, and maybe having underinsurance or not having enough insurance, and we're just moving the process so quickly to seize their property.
Thank you. And I also have a problem with it sitting for close to 2 years and nothing being done with residents living next door to it. I'm sorry.
We just heard that too.
One at a time, please. One at a time. Mr. Yeager
with
speaking right now.
everyone, with people living next door to them in an environment that is inducive to creating rats right on the river. They're dealing with safety and health issues. We talk about things that make the borough safe or not safe. Having a burnt down hole in the ground with debris in it breeds rats, which breed disease. And it is a safety issue with any kid walking down that street that could just take a right turn and jump right in the pile.
So what about the houses that are being rebuilt? And we call them blighted properties. Will they be able to get builder's loans later on? Can we guarantee that? Are we
They're being built
handicapping them?
now,
Do we know?
Ted. They're being built now.
Do we know we're not going to handicap them in the future from continuing that process?
No.
Okay. I'm just glad you can guarantee that.
We can.
Anyone else?
I know.
Okay. Can I have a roll call, please, on 9J?
Councilman Bowers?
Yes.
Councilman Dreisbach?
Yes.
Councilman McChronicle?
No.
Councilman Larison?
Yes.
Councilman Nay?
Yes.
Councilman Parker?
No.
Councilwoman Smith?
Yes.
And Councilman Yeager?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-2. 9K. Call for motion to accept resolution number PC 2018-02 of the Morrisville Borough Planning Commission to declare the property located at 179 North Delmar Avenue, Morrisville, PA as a blighted property. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Who was the motion? Dave Nay? I'm sorry. Mr. Yeager was the second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments on this motion? Okay, have a roll call, please.
Councilman Bowers?
Yes.
Councilman Drysdale?
Yes.
Councilman Cronk?
No.
Councilwoman Larison?
Yes.
Councilman Nay?
Yes.
Councilman Parker?
No.
Councilwoman Smith?
Yes.
And Councilman Yeager?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-2. 9L, call for a motion to accept the resolution number PC 2018-03 of the Morrisville Borough Planning Commission to declare the property located at 50 Union Street, Morrisville, PA, as a blighted property. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions or comments on this motion?
I just wanted to add, too, that, just for the public record, that the blighted properties that we're currently talking about are uninhabited and uninhabitable.
Correct.
They meet the requirements that make it a blighted property, and there's a whole list of them, and they meet certain ones of those.
Right.
It does give them the opportunity, as they are notified, and it's been through this process, and there's more of a process to go to do something with the properties.
And if I may, to Councilman Nay's point, there was a list of items that fit the requirement, and basically, to sum it up like he did, they're not livable properties. This isn't a situation where somebody's living in there and they're being evicted. They are not livable, and they are not moving forward. That's what we want to see happen.
Yeah. The process could be stopped at any point. They have to do something with their properties, whether it's the ones that have been burned out for 2 years, whatever street they're living on. If they meet the requirements of that blighted property, it's to get the initiative to get them to do something with those properties. It can be stopped at any point because there are those time limitations on there to make that happen. So present that to the borough and the redevelopment authority. And I have a call for the motion. Call for the roll call.
Yes.
Councilman Drysdale?
Yes.
Councilwoman Chronicle?
No.
Councilwoman Larison?
Yes.
Councilman Nay?
Yes.
Councilman Parker?
No.
Councilwoman Smith?
Yes.
And Councilman Yeager?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-2. 9M, call for a motion to authorize the execution of grant contract for the Greenways Trails and Recreation Program through the Pennsylvania DCED in the amount of $85,000 for Patriots Park at Historic Summerseat Master Plan.
So moved.
Second.
Do we have a motion and a second?
I believe we have to open that up for public comment.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, we can open it. Public comment first. Anyone want to comment? No? Okay, we'll close the comment. The council council need to weigh in? Any questions or comments on it from council? No, okay. All right, can we have a roll call for it, please?
Councilman Bowers?
Yes.
Councilwoman Drysdale?
Yes.
Councilwoman Chronicle?
Yes.
Councilwoman Larison?
Yes.
Councilman Nay?
Yes.
Councilman Parker?
Yes.
Councilwoman Smith?
Yes.
And Councilman Yeager?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0. 9N, call for a motion to authorize the borough manager to execute the service agreement with the Delaware River Keeper Network in the amount of $4,081 for project management and technical assistance services for continuing the restoration of an approximately half-mile reach of the Morrisville Riverfront Preserve. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
And a second. Okay.
Second.
Motion and a second, and I'll open public comment on this motion. If anyone wants to, okay. Anyone have any questions or comments on this?
Can you
I have a
just,
question.
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Corinne.
Can you just quickly explain? I know we got it in our packet, but can you just quickly explain for the public's knowledge what this is?
Yes, Ms. Colgan from the MEAC had notified the manager, this is part of the process, that's ongoing tree restoration that goes on down there every year. They get a grant, and they do a tree program for that. So they were putting out for their requests for proposals for requests for the work to be done. And part of that was this agreement that we do every time they do the trees, where it's overseen by the River Keepers Network. And if you look at the previous years that they've done the tree plantings, it's the same thing. We've gotten it before.
And if I could just add,
Sure.
Madam President, this is not borough money. This is grant money
Correct.
obtained by the EAC.
Right. Anytime you're doing work on that riverfront preserve, it's overseen by the Delaware River Network. And so they have an assistant that works with them to make sure that the proper trees and they're planted properly down there. And this is an ongoing program that they do every year to add for the buffer that they have down there on that part of the river. They do a cleanup every year down there around April, and they're trying to restore that whole area. So it's through grant money that's awarded every year. So that's what this is for. Anyone else? Okay. Can I have a roll call on this, please, Virginia?
Didn't we ask for public comment?
You did.
Yes.
Sorry. I was answering him. Sorry.
Councilman Dowd?
Yes.
Councilman Drysdale?
Yes.
Councilman Donegal?
Yes.
Councilman Larson?
Yes.
Councilman May?
Yes.
Councilman Parker?
Yes.
Councilwoman Smith?
Yes.
And Councilman May?
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0. Okay, I don't believe there's any unfinished business, right? Our manager, I don't believe so, and there's no new business. So we'll go to the borough officials if there's
Well,
anything.
there was the question about the
I'm sorry, I missed something.
ordinance we had talked about, Lower Makefield's example on the Airbnb issue. Whether council wishes to pursue that or not.
That was for
Short-term rentals.
Okay, under new business, the manager just reminded me, everyone got in their packet some information, which was a sample of the ordinance for Lower Makefield that was recently put in for short-term rentals and basically bed and breakfasts, curbing the timeframes on them and the rental times for them. So I would like to ask the council whether they want to looking into that for the Morrisville Borough to research that for us and have our manager and our solicitor look into developing some information on an ordinance for us that would help us with that.
This would be for the Airbnbs type?
Right, yeah. So if anyone
rentals.
did not get it, you should have got this in your packet about a week or so ago.
So you're asking if we want it to be looked into, so
Yes.
maybe the November agenda?
Yes, I'd like to weigh in if you think it's something that would be useful
I think
for
so.
us that they recently put in with.
I'd like to know more about it.
More about it, okay. Anyone else?
I would too. I'd also like to know if we'd be able to enforce it, because it seemed like there was a program to implement.
Right.
And there would be registrations and things like that. And if we'd have the capacity to be able to handle it.
Okay.
Has it been your experience, Mr. Mitchell, that this is a problem? Or a maybe
It
problem?
is, and actually in my short time here so far, this has come up a number of times, which is why the zoning officer had recommended it. And I think some of the neighbors who originally complained about the issue have since left. But it actually was a resident-driven proposal.
Okay.
And the zoning officer obtained a sample ordinance recently adopted by the Lower Makefield Township Board of Supervisors. And that's what we had circulated to council to see if there was any interest among council for us to pursue a similar policy.
So that's what we're asking. Council would like to pursue this on us, our borough, and look into it for us. Okay? All right, then we will do that.
Shall we ask the solicitor to draft a proposed ordinance, or do you not want to go that far yet?
I would say November.
For November? Please look in your packet.
Yeah.
If you have not read the sample one, it's very detailed from Lower Makefield. There's some information about that in there. It's pretty big. Take a look at it, as our solicitor will be drafting something for us, and you can always ask questions about it if you need it. But make sure it's in your packet. If you did not, notify us and let us know.
And just to be clear, Madam President, the reason why I'm suggesting November, asking for November, is because although it was in there and I read through it, it not being on the agenda, I really didn't spend too much time because we had such a large agenda, so I'd like some more time to research it.
That's why we're just bringing up as new business.
Yep.
Take a look at it. It's not something that has to be done tomorrow.
Nope.
We're just asking if the council would like to look into it for our borough for in the future. Okay? Is there any other new business you need,
No.
Scott? Okay.
No, thank you.
Okay, so at this time, borough officials, if there's anything else that anyone would like to say?
I just have one real quick. Sunday, October 21st, the Friends of Morrisville Dog Park will be co-sponsoring with the borough the Monster March, Doggy Pet Parade and costume contest from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. south of the dog park. Registration begins at 1:15 p.m. and there will be prizes in a number of categories for costumes.
Madam President?
Yes.
Just real quick, the Morrisville Yardley Area Rotary Club had its yearly breakfast fundraiser on this past Saturday. It was extremely well attended. I just want to thank everybody who showed up. I also want to thank Tina Shannon and Troop 3 for coming out and really taking care of everyone. It's such a great group of kids. And I'd like to say to anyone in the area, if your child is Scouts age, really consider putting them in Scouts. Those kids learn a lot of responsibility, work ethic, and charity through being a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I have something. I would like to thank the Morrisville Senior Service Center for their hospitality this past weekend. We did a fundraiser to replace 2 dilapidated benches at the Senior Service Center and in front of the courthouse. One will be in memory of Judge Michael Burns, and the other one will be in memory of Edgar Zolt, who was one of the founding members of the Senior Service Center. So this past weekend, council all was made aware that we were doing this fundraiser, and the fundraiser went off without a hitch. Everyone had a great time. It was, excuse me, we had a lot of attendance and a lot of donations came in, so we will be looking forward to replacing those 2 benches, hopefully, if the weather permits, this year.
Yeah, thank you. We're tallying up the amounts for that. Our goal was to raise about $6,000 to put both those benches in, purchase them, and actually have them professionally installed. Right now, without going back to the senior center to get their tally on some of the things that they did at PayPal to match up with us, we were just under $5,000. So we are meeting that goal, and it's going to be a nice little project to freshen up the front of that senior center with those new benches. So I thank everyone that was involved, the council that had the time to stop in and support it and have some food with us, all of the volunteers that donated all the food, the time, the decorations. It was amazing what they did. I think the senior center was very impressed with it. We had a good time, and we thank them for their help with that.
The Senior Center actually thought that we had it catered, and we told them, no, we did not. It was all done by volunteers.
Yeah.
So thank you to everyone that came out and helped, and it really was a nice time. So thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
I have one question for Scott. Scott, did we receive the signs yet, or do we have them to put up for the trucks, or are they up?
They are up, right?
The tractor trailer signs, they're all up.
They're up.
Okay, because it's not working on South Pennsylvania Avenue. Several people have contacted me saying the trucks are coming through again. Can we enforce it now?
Well, South Pennsylvania Avenue, if you're referring to the blue and white sign at Philadelphia Avenue, is an advisory sign. It is not a regulatory sign. Therefore, it is recommended and suggested, but it is not enforceable.
So the signs that were put up really...
Just that one?
Just that one.
That one, and it's
all
not...
of the other signs are related to the project, are regulatory in nature, and are enforceable by the police, yes.
Mm-hmm. Someone had said that there was a tractor trailer that went down Washington Avenue, and then I know that there is a sign that says no turn on Washington Avenue for tractor trailers.
So there's nothing we can do for the trucks. I mean, if they're going to go down South Pennsylvania Avenue, they're going to go down South Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yes.
When the LED sign was up there, they seemed to all pay attention to that when it was in front of Raj's.
And then
now that's gone, and they're just going straight down again.
We got notified that from actually PennDOT, somebody contacted PennDOT that, that particular one, they weren't going to let us enforce. They just moved the stop bar back on those corners. And it was a suggestion to make that turn. So I would suggest everybody, raise some hell. you know, with
Somebody actually-
PennDOT, and we did everything
worse.
that we
It did.
can.
It did get
is.
better for a
It
while,
is.
but it's getting worse.
Very clear at the meeting.
Yeah, really.
But that's
Somebody actually put a sign up there and
Right.
said, trucks suck.
Yeah, I'm sure.
On
I'm sure.
Philadelphia Avenue, a large sign about 4 foot long, but it got wet and it was
Yeah,
destroyed.
if you live down there, it's quite a mess.
It's bad. All right, thank
Can I just
you.
ask, can I just ask a quick update on Passanani's? It hasn't been on the engineer's report for a while.
Yes, the RDA is working with the applicant to rectify some challenges with the project. And they have to come back before, I'm sorry, I'm doing this from memory, but they have to come back before the zoning hearing board with a new application to cure something that was left out of their original application.
Okay.
So it is moving ahead, just unfortunately it's at a snail's pace.
Okay.
And that was something on their side, not our side. We are.
Yes, that
with it,
had
yeah.
nothing to do with the borough. The defect with their original ZHB application was actually the RDA's issue.
Correct. Okay, anyone else?
Madam President?
Yes.
I just wanted to thank Councilman Yeager and the Vacant Property Review Committee for their work on these blighted properties. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
And just one quick thing, really super quick. It is Small Business Saturday on November 24th. Just like last year, I did get a big box of items from American Express that I'll be handing out to some of our local businesses, and we're going to try to have almost like a little scavenger hunt. So if you can go and tag yourself on Small Business Saturday, which again is November 24th, the winner can get a $25 gift certificate to the Morrisville business of their choice. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Okay, maybe we can also give I guess a flyer or something if you want to post it in the kiosks as well, or something to the borough to post for you also. Do you give, for that, to announce that, if you want to give anything to
Sure.
to the borough.
They sent me, just like last year, I think I got about 100 tote bags and big giant signs, stickers. I still use them. They're very, very well done. Really well made, rather.
Okay, thank you.
Computer this year, too.
All right, if everyone else, we're good? Okay, then I'm going to ask for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, that one always passes.
They're running out the door. You get the sweat off your brow. Wait a minute.